And of course, as fate would have it, the Brewers are facing the Chicago Cubs in their first playoff series starting Saturday. Let's get after it here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Is it Saturday yet? Hey, everybody, Chuck Freimund. Good to have you along. Longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin. Proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have I ever said that since I've been doing this podcast that the Brewers have never lost the NL Central? They are owners of the NL Central, but none of that matters as we begin the playoffs coming up on Saturday. Good to have you along. Locked On Brewers. Coming up, we'll talk about this first-round opponent with the Brewers. The divisional playoffs. Can the Brewers finally break that door down and win a playoff series? They haven't done so since 2018. Also, William Contreras had some great things to say about the Milwaukee Brewers and the city of Milwaukee. We'll talk about that. John Papadopoulos, sportscaster, longtime sports talk show host in LaCrosse. We have a lot of Locked On Brewers listeners in the LaCrosse, Eau Claire area. We'll talk to him a little bit later on in the show as well. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. And I'm glad it's the Cubs too. I'm glad it's the Cubs. Wouldn't want it any other way. I'm not fearing these guys. And I think the dread for Brewers fans is not the fear of losing to Craig Counsell. It's that we got to deal with the Cubs fans. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later on in the show. And I totally get you. I feel it. I don't like them either. I really don't. But Team Lifeless did find a way to get the job done in San Diego, at Wrigley against San Diego, avenging the 1984 NLCS loss when the Cubs broke a 41-year drought and got to the postseason and lost to the Padres after having a 2-0 series lead. They came back and won it 3-0. None of that matters, just like nothing matters as far as what happened this season between the Brewers and Cubs. Cubs won the season series 7-6. Brewers won the division in a landslide, but none of that matters. It is a whole new ball game once we throw it up on Saturday. Craig Counsell, the drama of Counsell being here and leaving us 2 years ago, I'm over it. I was well over it a long time ago. And I'm tired of the stories and I'm tired of all that. Okay. Now it's just between, the 9 on the field and the bullpen and the starting pitching against their 9 and their starting pitching and their bench and their bullpen as well. Yeah, it would be a little extra special to beat him a little bit since he left a posty note on the door before he left. And, oh, guys, I'm going to Chicago. What Tom Crean did to Marquette, kind of did a similar thing. But so none of that matters. That drama and all that, I don't really get into it. In fact, we talked about it initially when it first happened, obviously, but I'm well over it. And now it's time to beat the Cubs, right? And it doesn't matter if Counsell's managing or Joe Madden is managing or Whitey Lockman was the manager or Jim Fry or any of those Cubs legends. I don't care. I just want to win this series, and I think the Brewers will. Brewers are a slight favorite going in. They're a -115 favorite going in. Both teams great on the base pass, among the league leaders in stolen bases. Defense, both teams get after it defensively as well. And the Brewers, I feel, are the better team. I've said this all along. Yeah, don't give me that the Cubs have won the series 7-6. I don't want to hear any of that. The Brewers, I feel, man for man, are a better team. Now, the Cubs, they had their locker room celebration on Thursday and all that. And we'll see how they are when they get to a 1 o'clock start on Saturday at AmFam Field. But those were 3 hard-fought games for the Cubs against the Padres. 3 hard-fought games. They emptied out, they dumped out their bullpen. Talion only went 4 innings. Kittredge ended up closing out the game. They almost couldn't. They almost tripped over themselves in the 9th inning against the Padres, but they found a way to get it done. And that's the bottom line. They found a way to get it done. Team Lifeless got off to an early 2-0 lead, and then they kind of just sat on it. That's what Team Lifeless does. And they added a home run by Bush, and the Padres made a threat in the air in the end. But I feel like a couple of guys on that Padre team just didn't come to play like Tatis. But I'm glad. I'm glad the Cubs won that series because I want to face the Cubs. I do. I want to face the Cubs. Brewers are better than both of these teams. They are. They have 97 wins for a reason. The Brewers are better than the Cubs, and they're certainly better than the Padres. Yeah, they're better than the Dodgers, and I feel they're better than the Philadelphia Phillies. The Brewers are still the best team in the National League. Now they got to go out and prove it. But I really love their chances. I love their chances. I love the intangibles with the Brewers in this series. Okay, I feel like no lead is too no deficit, I should say, is too big for these guys. The Cubs I've seen this year, they get down in the game or they just throw their hands up, or sometimes they build an early lead and they don't build on it. No, I love the Brewers in this series. And Freddie Peralta in game one. Who's going to go for the Cubs? Maybe Assad. He has not pitched since Sunday. Could it be Colin Ray pitching in this game? Could he be pitching in this game? Now, the rosters won't be out until Saturday morning. And we've talked about that a little bit on the previous episodes and who might be the surprise for the Brewers and who might be a surprise for the Cubs. Will Savale. Yeah, Aaron Savale is on the Cubs roster. Didn't see him in the wild card round, but he was on the roster for the wild card round for the Cubs. We'll see if Savale is on the divisional playoff round and gets in, how the fans will treat him. You talk about drama. It ended up working out great for the Brewers because they got Miz up here, and then they got their first baseman out of this deal, and it helped propel them to 97 wins because of Savale didn't want to come out of the bullpen, and then the White Sox didn't want him anymore, and the Cubs picked him up. We'll see. A lot of connections between the two teams. Of course, Pat Hughes, the longtime voice of the Cubs. Now, him I like. Pat Hughes, I feel like one of the great announcers, and not only in baseball, but in Brewers history. The years he was here, gosh, I want to say 84 through 95, I want to say, for 10, 11 years next to Euchre. He's been 30 years with the Cubs already. Unbelievable. Hall of Fame for a reason. He's a great broadcaster, and I like him. I always enjoy running into Pat. One of the greatest memories. That guy has got one of the greatest memories. That guy could meet you one time. Pat Hughes, the voice of the Cubs, could meet you one time, and you may not see him for 5 years. Okay, and he would know your name. He'd know what your job is. He'd know what radio station you're in. That's Pat Hughes. Good guy, but he has nothing to do with the game. He's just broadcasting for the enemy. All right, Contreras. I got to tell you about this Players Tribune article, and what the Players Tribune article website is it's an article written first person by a player, and in this case, we saw one by Christian Yelich a couple of months ago, right? And this one was written by Contreras, and I just thought it was really, really cool. Off the top, he says he did not want to come to Milwaukee. When he heard he was going to be traded to Milwaukee, he said, "Trade me back to Atlanta." He told his agent. Now, I'm telling you, he's not the first one to do that. Okay? There's a lot of people, and let's be honest. We live in Milwaukee. We live in Wisconsin. We love it here. But it's been a long-standing thing in professional sports where guys do not want to get traded or end up in Milwaukee. I think some of that's changing a little bit. But guys, when they do come here and they are part of the organization, they love it. They love it. And Contreras initially said, "Trade me back." He wanted to stay in Atlanta. He didn't know what it was going to be like for him living in Milwaukee. He didn't know anything about Milwaukee. And but he loves it here. Now he says he loves it here. He wants to spend the rest of his career here. And I hope he does, man. I hope he does. But he talked about, I thought this was interesting. He talked about when they lost in 2023 to Arizona in the playoffs, or when he got swept in that series. Said he was crying coming off the field, leaving. He was crying. And he said he got into the locker room, and then some players were actually happy the season was ending. Some players were actually happy the season was ending. And he said one player even joked about going fishing. He said guys were leaving 5 minutes 5 minutes after the season ended. And I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm trying to think, because I was in that locker room about 15 minutes after, who was not in there. But he said guys were leaving 5 minutes after the game. They had mailed it in. They were glad the season was over. That was odd. That was odd to hear him say that. Counsell was the manager at the time. I'm not saying it was a reflection on him, but he said one guy even asked Contreras that he was happy he's going to be able to go fishing. Odd. You always think that way sometimes, right? I mean, you see players in the postseason, it's like, man, do they really want to be there? Their effort level? Or they just want to, because they're getting paid the same whether their team wins or loses. Okay? I feel like this Brewers team, and Contreras has said this, they're not that way. There's a lot of guys on that team who take losing personally and want to win. But in 2023, apparently there were some guys on that team that were happy the season ended. According to this terrific article by Contreras, he was not one of them, obviously. I love the way he ended the article. He said, basically, well, there's other teams that have better players than us, maybe, on their team. But he said, no one is better than us. That's the way he finished it off. No one is better than us. Way to go, Will Contreras. You got a lifetime contract, in my opinion, with the Milwaukee Brewers, man. Just reading that article, it's just kind of a touching thing. Just that, he came here, he didn't know much about Milwaukee, and he got here and he loved it. He loved being a part of the Milwaukee Brewers organization. There's a lot of people do. Really family-oriented organization. And I've talked about that in the past, and Contreras talking about spending the rest of his career. Now, he has mentioned, though, in the past couple of seasons, he didn't really want to talk about a future contract, but hopefully the Brewers will sit down with him soon and get that done and buy him out of some arbitration. All right. Again, game one will be Saturday at 1 o'clock, 1:08 to be as precise on that. And then Monday's game is going to be 8:08. 2 game times the Brewers have not had all season long. And when I say 1:08, the Brewers have not played a starting time on a Saturday afternoon at 1:08 in the afternoon. And they have never played a game at 8:08, which they will be on Monday night. But who cares? Hey, I'm glad we got game times. I'm glad we got October baseball. That's all I care about. Cubs bullpen, I want to throw this at you. In that 3-game series, they look pretty good. Again, Craig Counsell emptied out the bullpen. 12 innings, 2 earned runs against the Padres. Team lifeless. It wasn't like they were hitting the ball all over the yard, but they pitched pretty well. It's going to be hot there Saturday. Temperatures unseasonably warm in the 80s coming up on Saturday for game 1. All right, when we come back, John Papadopoulos will join us. We'll get to him coming up next. We'll throw a few things off him regarding this Cubs series and what his prediction is. I feel like the Brewers will win it. I feel like they're going to get it done in 4 games. I feel they'll get it done in 4 games. We'll come right back after this timeout. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. This episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Monarch Money, I'm telling you, Monarch Money. If you need to get your finances in order, Monarch Money, something that we've done here. We downloaded the app. We went to the website, Monarch Money, put all our numbers in there, and it said that we spend too much money going out to eat. And it can identify to you where the holes of your paycheck are going. Where's all your money going? Your 401ks, your investments. Most people don't know all that. They just assume. Well, you'll get a full picture with Monarch Money. It's built for people with busy lives. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear visual data and categorization of all your spending, where your money is going, where your paycheck is going. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Go to monarchmoney.com, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB in your browser. You'll get half off your first year. Give it a try. 50% off your first year. monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to find out where your money is going. You're going to find out exactly where it is and where you're spending your money so you can start saving your money and not wasting it, like going out to eat like we always do. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. By the way, our podcast, you get it on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. Wherever you download your Brewers podcast, wherever you download your podcasts, download Locked On Brewers. We're the number one Brewers podcast on the internet for a reason, because you great Brewers fans out there downloading us, watching us every day on all the audio platforms. We're on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Bringing in the guest this week, John Papadopoulos does 3 to 6 afternoons. The Sports Lead, it's called, on ESPN LaCrosse. Great to get him aboard here. I'm on his show on Mondays, and he's coming on my podcast here. And as we said, we're rolling out the guests this week. John, appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you.
Well, it's great to be here. I love coming on. Here we go.
I love you, and I love your Brewers takes. I know you're there with the rest of us, grinding every day, watching this team play. I haven't talked to you since the offseason, earlier in the year. 97 wins. We've talked about it on your show. What's your opinion of it? I mean, this was a season that appeared that was going nowhere fast, and all of a sudden, shazam, June came, and they became the 27 Yankees.
Well, I have two opinions. Number one, Pat Murphy is a big reason for this. It's hard in baseball now for a manager to have an impact, but I think it was Lane Grindle who might have said this in the last day or two. He was talking about the style, the managerial style, and he said, Pat Murphy is really good at coaching these young players and managing the veterans. It's two different things.
Wait, that was me that said that on your show.
What's that?
That was me that said that on your show.
Oh, Chuck Freimund. Okay, never mind. Well, maybe he heard you say it. He said it, and then I heard it. So,
yes.
But what a great way to look at it. I think that's a big reason for this. And I think, honestly, the other reason is you did have a window there where Jacob Misiorowski was pitching like an ace, Woodruff was pitching like an ace, and so was Freddie, all at the same time. And that 6 or 7 week window where they had 3 aces and they seemingly were getting every break offensively, that's where you get 97 from. That's where it comes from. But I didn't see it coming at all. I thought the Cubs were going to win this division. I thought the Brewers were better than Vegas did. I think a lot of the Vegas books had them at 79, 80 wins this year.
That was the right around the 500 mark.
Yeah, I mean, that was every book, too. I mean, it wasn't like that was a lower end one. So I thought they'd win 90-ish, maybe 89, and maybe lose the division to the Cubs and just miss out on the playoffs. But, Misiorowski wasn't something I expected back in April. I was hoping Woodruff would be back and expected him to at least be pretty good. But to have all 3 pitching like they did, and Pat Murphy pressing all the right buttons, it just seemed to have the temperature of this clubhouse. I know it's a cliche, but a lot of managers don't. I think a lot of managers outthink the room. They're so embedded in analytics, which I'm an analytics guy too. But some of these guys, I just think become they're almost robotic with it. They're just at the mercy of it. And Pat Murphy just seems to have that feel, and I think he's a big reason why.
We saw today with the Padres and Cubs. I mean, both managers did not want a lot of length out of their starter. And I know it was a deciding game and all that. But, yeah, that's my problem with the postseason is –
Well, speaking of being at the mercy of analytics, I mean, Craig Counsell takes his guy out. Jameson Taillon was pitching well.
He was pitching great.
And he wasn't just getting hard outs either. I mean, his changeup was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Guys, left-handed hitters couldn't touch it. He was pitching as well as you could pitch. And I think probably what Counsell did was say, all right, he can only go through the lineup X amount of times, and sometimes you just outthink the room. And I think they got lucky, to be honest, because those first couple innings after he was gone, Padres could have scored some runs. It got shaky. I mean, I understand taking him out after 6 or, at 100 or 110 pitches, but I thought he pulled him really early.
Oh, and then he used Johnny Holstaff and got to the finish line that way and got a couple of breaks. Let's face it, in the 9th inning, they almost blew that 3-0 lead. But, yeah. But see, this is what I hope Craig does against the Brewers. Outthinks the room. He's done that where his starter, man, he will either keep him in too long, one bet or too many, or he'll pull that guy early. And if that backfires today with Taillon, like I said, I hope he does that. Hope he does that here over the next week.
Yeah, I'd love to know why he did it too. I mean, I think I know why. I just explained it, but It's weird. I mean, there's a point where you just have to let athletes be athletes as well. And he had a guy who was rolling, but the Cubs did a good job, at least picking away at that Padre bullpen. I give them a lot of credit. That's the best bullpen in baseball by far. But the biggest reason the Cubs won that game is they nailed the formula against the Padres. You got to get to them early because their starting pitchers aren't great. Hugh Darvish did not look good at all.
No,
so
they got him out of there early.
They did probably not early enough.
Yeah.
But they got to him. They scored a run, they loaded the bases, and then they punched in one more. Basically, though, the 2 runs were the fault of Darvish, and he got charged with both of them. That's the only way to beat the Padres. You got to get them early before that bullpen takes over. So I thought they were aggressive. Although they also took pitchers when they had to. I thought they were ready to do that. And Counsell's a good manager. I think he had his team prepared in that sense. But again, I don't know why he took Tejan out when he did. But I think it will benefit the Brewers somewhat because I don't want to say he burned his bullpen because they have a day of rest now, and some of those guys can still pitch. But I don't know why he did what he did. He got lucky.
Well, both of these teams, the Brewers and the Cubs, they can steal the bases. They play great defense. Some of that's still there. I like the Brewers pitching better. I like their timely hitting better. A lot to like. And, early in the season, we heard, this Cubs offense is great. And then it fizzled off in the summertime.
Yeah, I was among those. I picked them to win it. And at least through late July into August, I still thought that was a dominant lineup. Be careful, though. It's still pretty good. It's still a really good lineup. And some of those guys are starting to hit. Pete Crow Armstrong was struggling badly for a while. And he got going today. I think he got some confidence back. He got that base hit to kind of bust it open early. And then he had another hit. And if that guy gets a swagger, that's not a guy you want to be dealing with. So I think that lineup is not where it was early in the season, but it's better than it was late in the season for sure. That's the thing about the Cubs. That is their strength. It's their lineup. I don't think it's a good bullpen. Right now, the rotation is about average. Yeah. Although if Tejan pitches like he did today, he could be a problem. I think Matthew Boyd is still pretty good. He's probably their best guy right now. But between injuries and some guys just not pitching well, it's not a great rotation. So I think the Brewers are the slightly better team going into this thing. I do.
And Cade Horton is questionable, obviously, because he's got a broken rib. It sounds like
if he's healthy, then he's a problem because he pitched really well at the end of the season. But I don't know if he's going to be able to pitch in this series.
He is, without question, Rookie of the Year candidate. High Rookie of the Year candidate as well. It's funny because Palencia was pitching in the middle innings last couple of nights. I wonder if we'll see more of that with the Cubs when they hit town here.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from Craig Counsell after watching him operate that bullpen today and the way he handled his staff overall. I really don't. I think, anything could happen. I think if Boyd's pitching well, he could go 7. Or in the 4th inning, he might just get weird, Counsell, and go to his bullpen. It's not a great bullpen, though. They got some live arms, but it's not a great bullpen. So I think for the Brewers' sake, if they can get into that bullpen consistently in this series, it's going to be advantageous. That's what you want to do. You want to get to the bullpen somewhere around the 4th or 5th inning.
Absolutely. John, hang on 1 second. We'll come right back to you. Take a break. We're going to throw to him who he likes, his unbiased opinion, who he likes in the series, Game 3 starter, how to use the Miz, some of the things that have been talked about around the water cooler these days. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, every day we make decisions on what we're going to do in life. But in PrizePicks, man, you could say over or less on let's say on Yelich on base hits, maybe Josh Allen on passing yards, Saquon Barkley on rushing touchdowns, over, under, more or less on player projections. And download the PrizePicks app today and get involved. Use the Locked On MLB promo code. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Locked On MLB, $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. It's so fun, simple way, add more excitement to football just by picking more or less on player projections. And the more you pick, the more you have a chance to get paid. How about that? Don't miss the excitement of this football season. It's going on right now. Pro game started on Thursday night, continuing through the weekend. PrizePicks get in with the playoffs in baseball as well. Download the app, Locked On MLB, the promo code, $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with PrizePicks. Show is also brought to you by Gametime, number one app out there as far as getting tickets. I mean, you want concert tickets. Maybe you want Brewers tickets. You can get Saturday's tickets, Monday's tickets. Maybe you want to get some Bucks tickets, Packers tickets coming up, a comedy show, whatever. Gametime. Use the Gametime app. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. They're not going to be adding all these different totals, and at the end you're going to say, "Whoa, that's not what I want it right there." No surprise fees whatsoever. But you got to download the Gametime app. You create the account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. And when you do that, you get $20 off your first purchase. You buy $100 worth of tickets, you'll get tickets for $80. Terms apply. Again, that promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Download the Gametime app today and take part. Gametime is the way to go. And also, you're going to see the virtual seating on there where you just tap on where you want to sit. And it's going to show you the view from your seat. It's all with Gametime. Gametime, terms apply when you get that $20 off your first purchase with the Locked On MLB promo code. All right, down the stretch we come. John Papadopoulos, a few things I'm going to ask. I've been asking everybody, and the $1 million question: how do you think the Miz will be used? And I'll get to my second part of that question. Yes, but how do you think he'll be used in this first series at least?
Well, I had one listener who messaged me and said, does he even make the postseason roster? I had another one who said he should start Game 3. So I think he's probably going to be used in a piggyback situation. Maybe it's a Jose Quintana starts Game 3, and Mizorowski, hard righty follows soft lefty. Mm-hmm. But I'm not 100% sure you're using him in any high leverage situation. It might be a piggyback where if you're up 3 or 4 and you just want to bring some heat, and if he's throwing well, you let him ride it out. But I just don't know how reliable he is right now. I think the guy's going to be a great pitcher. He'll probably be in the rotation next year. Who knows? Maybe he ends up being a closer or a great starter one day. But at this point, I think he's a little far down the pecking order in terms of like high leverage situations, in terms of who you want out there.
But he's one of those guys who can come in and get you a big strikeout. Can also walk you on 4 pitches, but he can get you, put him in a bases loaded situation and close your eyes, I guess.
Let me ask you a question, Chuck. Would you rather him come in a clean inning, or would you rather him come in a situation with guys on base where you need a strikeout, like runner on third, less than 2, tie game, late? What would you prefer? I would say a clean inning to start the inning. Yeah, me too.
I would rather do that. I don't want to have him come in and clean up a mess.
Because his ability to throw strikes right now consistently is not good. Yeah. And if you catch him on a good day and he starts a clean inning, you can ride him. Yeah. For a full inning or more. So that I don't mind that, but I don't know if I want him coming in and putting out a fire. No. The fire might become more inflamed if he comes in that situation. So I hope he makes the roster. I think he will, and I hope he pitches. I hope he pitches well, but I don't foresee him coming in real high leverage situations.
John, second part of that question, you kind of answered it there. With one of your callers. Do you think the Miz makes the postseason roster? Again, we all love this guy, but do you think there's the trust there that maybe that roster spot goes to somebody else?
I think he makes it, but also keep in mind that they can reset the roster every series. So if he doesn't make it and they beat the Cubs and they go to the NLCS, theoretically, he could be brought in for a longer series after that. But I think he makes it. I've gone through this a couple of times. You start getting into Tobias Myers territory, and you kind of go, deeper into the rotation and deeper into the staff. And I think the numbers probably are in his favor to make it, but I don't think it's a lock. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at now they have matchups to look at. The Cubs' best hitters are left-handed. If you had to say say Suzuki's right-handed, but most of their better hitters are left-handed. So maybe they look at that matchup and say there's not a spot for him. I think it's about 70-30 in favor of making it, though.
Who's your Game 3 starter?
I think it's Quintana, the more I think about it, and for 2 reasons. Number one, Jose Quintana's done this before. We saw what he did against the Brewers last year, and I don't think the moment will be too big for him. And sometimes in these situations, and we may see this from a lot of the young Brewers players, even the really good players like Churio and Terang and, Frelick, they haven't been on the stage before where Quintana's done at number one. And in the playoffs, you always have a bailout. I've heard people say, well, he wasn't pitching well at the end of the year and his stuff isn't very good, which is all true. But if he's not pitching well in the first inning, then you bail right away. It's the playoffs. I mean, you go to your bullpen in the first or second inning if you have to. So, I think he gets the first shot to go out there and give you 3 or 4 innings or something like that. I can see all kinds of situations, though. You could start him and then bring in Aaron Ashby in the third or fourth. It's lefty, but Ashby's got dirty stuff, and it's a very different delivery. It's a different kind of style of pitching, so it might be a nice contrast. I could honestly see Quintana and Mizorowski as a 1-2, or even Chad Patrick as the second guy. But I think it's Quintana, if I had to guess.
Pop, before I let you go, quick prediction here. Brewers and Cubs, how far does it go and who wins?
I mean, I think it's 5. I do, because I don't think either team is great right now. I just don't. Honestly, I think the Padres are better than both of them. As far as the playoffs go, they just couldn't find a way.
Oh, Tatis wanted no part of the postseason. No part.
That
was
true.
An embarrassing performance of him. That was an embarrassing performance.
That's true. But I think it's a really good series. I do. I think the Brewers are going to win this series, and it's a very unbiased opinion because, as you know, I'm not a Brewer fan. But I think they're a little bit better. And, I was talking with Vinny Rottino about this on my show this week. And this is something you have to consider. Nobody ever does. But the two things that never slump are defense and base running. Those things don't ever slump, and those are the Brewers' strengths. That's how they're going to win if they're going to win. So I think if the young guys can kind of, bake themselves into this environment and not be thrown off by it, they're going to be great on the base pass. They're going to be really good defensively. They're going to steal runs. It'll be close, though, because the Brewers don't have the firepower pitching-wise anymore without Woodruff, without July version of Mizorowski. But I think they win it in 5.
He is the king of Cooley region. He is the Lord of Lacrosse. He is the man who hosts the sports.
Work on these, huh?
Yeah, I just came off the top of my head. The sports lead 3 to 6 on ESPN LaCrosse. Get him every day, Monday through Friday. Longtime sportscaster in the great city of LaCrosse in that beautiful area, John Papadopoulos. John, appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the series.
Hey, thanks for having me.
That's going to do it for Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name is Chuck Freimund. We will see you daily. Yes, we'll be here over the weekend, dropping episodes, talking Brewers baseball with you right here. Plus, we'll be back tomorrow on Friday, a little bit later on Friday afternoon, dropping a podcast. So we'll see you then. Let's get to it. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.